The artist we are meeting this week is Vincent van Gogh. Vincent van Gogh was a famous French painter, most famous for his post Impressionism work. This painting right here is a self portrait that Vincent van Gogh painted himself. Here's our timeline. We're in the year 2020 right now, but if you go back in time, keep going back farther and farther, you will hit the year 1889, and that's when Van Gogh painted Starry Night. This is one of his most famous pieces of work. Many people recognize it. We'll take another look at that later. Next, I want to share a video with you that talks about Vincent van Gogh's sunflower paintings.
Camille and the Sunflowers. A story about Vincent van Gogh by Laurence Anholt. Where Camille lived, the sunflowers grew so high they looked like real suns. A whole field of burning yellow suns. Every day after school, Camille ran through the sunflowers to meet his father, who was a postman. Together, they would lift down the heavy sacks of mail. One day, a strange man arrived in Camille's town. He had a straw hat, a yellow beard, and quick brown eyes. "I am Vincent, the painter," he said, smiling at Camille. Vincent came to live in the yellow house at the end of Camille's street. He had no money and no friends. "Let's try to help him," said Camille's father. So they loaded the cart with pots and pans and furniture for the yellow house. Camille picked a huge bunch of sunflowers for the painter and put them in a big brown pot. Vincent was very pleased to have two good friends. Vincent asked Camille's father if he would like to have his picture painted, dressed in his best blue uniform. "You must sit very still," said Vincent. Camille loved the bright colors Vincent used and the strong smell of paint. As Camille watched, his father's face appeared like magic on the canvas. The picture was strange but very beautiful. Vincent said he would like to paint the whole family: Camille's mother, his big brother, his baby sister, and at last, Camille himself. Camille was very excited. He had never even had his picture taken with a camera. Camille took his painting to school. He wanted everyone to see it. But the other children didn't like the picture. They all began to laugh. This made Camille feel very sad. After school, some of the older children started teasing Vincent. They ran along behind him as he went out to paint. Even the grown-ups joined in. "It's time he got a real job," they said, "instead of playing with paints all day." Camille sat for hours watching Vincent work. It was very hot, but Vincent worked fast. He painted the sunflower fields and even the sun itself. "He is the sunflower man," said Camille to himself. But no matter how hard Vincent worked, he could never sell any of his paintings. "If I had a lot of money," said Camille, "I would buy them all." "Thank you, my friend," laughed Vincent. One afternoon, as Camille and Vincent were coming back from the fields, some of the children from Camille's school were waiting. They shouted at Vincent and threw stones at him. Camille wanted to stop them, but what could he do? He was only a small boy. At last he ran home in tears. "Listen, Camille," said his father. "People often laugh at things that are different, but I've got a feeling that one day they will learn to love Vincent's paintings." That night, Camille had a strange dream. He saw Vincent standing in the moonlight, high above the town. Vincent had stuck candles on his hat so he could see. The sunflower man was painting the stars. Early the next morning, Camille was awakened by a loud knocking at the door. Some men from the town had come to see his father. "Listen, postman," they said. "We want you to give this letter to your friend. It says he must pack up his paints and leave our town. Camille slipped out through the back door. He ran down the street to the yellow house. It seemed very quiet inside. Then Camille saw the sunflowers he had picked for Vincent. They had all dried up and died. Camille felt sadder than ever. Vincent was upstairs packing his bags. He looked very tired, but he smiled at Camille. "Don't be sad," he said. "It's time for me to paint somewhere else now. Perhaps they will like my paintings there. But first, I have something to show you." Vincent lifted down a big picture. There were Camille's sunflowers, bigger and brighter than ever. Camille looked at the painting. Then he smiled too. "Goodbye, Sunflower Man," he whispered, and ran out of the yellow house and into the sunshine. Camille's father was right. People did learn to love Vincent's paintings. Today, you would have to pay a lot of money if you wanted to buy one. But now people all over the world go to museums and galleries just to see Vincent's paintings of the yellow house, of Camille and his family, and especially the picture of the sunflowers, so bright and yellow they look like real suns. The end.
Let's take a closer look at some of Vincent van Gogh's other work. Remember, Vincent van Gogh is a post-impressionism artist. That's his style that he paints in. That means he uses painterly brush strokes. See how the brush strokes are really thick? And they have lots of movement to them. So there's lots of different lines going in all different directions. Remember this for your artwork. There are also unnatural colors. This is a scene where there's a tree on the side. It's outdoors with some grasses and another tree here with lots of yellow in it. That yellow isn't really a natural color that you would see when looking at grass. Same with this blue-gray sky up here. It almost has a tinge of periwinkle or like a purple blue to it. So the colors are unnatural at times. And post-impressionism is supposed to explore the mind of the artist. Here's Vincent van Gogh's Starry Night. And here's a couple other photos of the paintings that Vincent van Gogh created. We have the sunflowers here. That's going to inspire our work today and inspire the book that we just listened to. And here is the bedroom that he was staying in. It's not extremely realistic. The colors are a little unrealistic too, but definitely beautiful to look at. Here is the artwork that we are going to be creating today. We are going to be creating a sunflower, and if you look closely at it, you will notice something going on with the petals. You may have noticed that the petals actually look like hands. That's because they are. Let's go ahead and get started. Here is my finished example of a sunflower. You can see this is a little bit different than the one that was in the photo that I just showed you because I added a little bit of texture onto each of the hands, and I'm going to encourage you to do the same thing. It has a stem with a little leaf on it. I have the leaf already pre-cut for you. The stems are pre-cut, so we're going to focus on mostly this part today. First, please grab the rectangle of white paper that you have and your pencil and draw a large circle on that white piece of paper. Please do not make it small, make it a large circle again. After that, we need to add a layer of brown to it. Please add a layer of brown using your crayons. I just picked a medium brown for mine. You can choose dark brown, it's up to you. And we're going to outline it, then give it a whole layer of brown. So I'm going to go ahead and get started on mine. You should be working along with me. We're not scribbling. I am working quickly just gliding my crayon across the top of the paper. I want to make sure all of the white paper is covered. I almost went over mine twice. Then I'm going to add in another brown. I have a warmer brown here. If you have another brown in your crayon box, you can add another layer of brown too. And now I want to make the edges darker. Check out my example. Makes it look a little more realistic and have a little bit of depth to it. So I'm going to use a darker brown around the edge, and then I'm going to go over even with a little bit of black. Maybe you can see it if I hold it a little closer there. Let's work on that step next. This is the same brown that I used before. Chestnut is what mine's called. And I'm doing my outline again. I'm pushing a little harder this time. You can see it in the camera. Just giving it another thick layer of that dark brown, and I'm just going around the edges. This time I'm not going all the way through the center of my circle. Try not to push too hard. You don't want to break your crayon, because remember, these are the crayons you're going to be using for the rest of the year. If you accidentally go outside of the lines, it will be okay because we are cutting this out. All right, once you're done with that, I'm going to outline mine in black. If you don't want to do this step and just want to keep working with the brown, you may. I just think it helps it pop more from the petals. So I have my simple outline, but now I'm going to blend it in a little bit. See, I'm working on blending. So I start by pushing hard on the edges, and then I slowly ease up on the crayon as I work my way towards the center. Pushing, slowly easing up. Pushing on the edges, slowly easing up. Now I'm going to use my lighter brown that I was working with before, and I'm going to kind of help it blend in where I was pushing lightly with the black crayon. Just giving it another layer on top. Neat. I like that effect. In the center, I do want to add a little bit of yellow because our yellow petals are going to be on the outside. So I think it ties in nicely if you add a little bit of yellow into the center. I have a tiny bit in this example. So I'm finding a yellow. This one that I have is really sunny yellow. I'm going to try it out, see if I like it. Yeah, that's not bad. So I'm going to add it into the center. This could be kind of like pollen. And then we want to add the small texture bits that are normally on a sunflower center. See them on mine? They're like little dashes all over. And you can make them going in many different directions. Just try to spread them out. Do the best you can. It doesn't need to be perfect, and it doesn't have to be exactly like mine. Just do your own personal best. There. Next step is to grab the 4 yellow pieces of paper. I have 4 here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Put them all together. because we're going to be cutting them all at the same time. Place your hand on the stack. Make sure your thumbs aren't going off. Scoot your fingers in so they'll all fit. And then trace your hand. Just go slow. Try not to move your fingers. There, mine got a little wiggly where my ring was. That's okay, I'm just going to correct it so I know where to cut. After you're done tracing your hand, go ahead and start cutting it out. Do not rush this part because remember, you're cutting 4 pieces of paper at once. 1, we don't want to waste paper. 2, we want this to look good. I'm cutting right on the line, feeding the paper into the scissors mouth, squeezing on the handles. And you can see that I turn my paper sometimes to make it more convenient for my cut. So watch this. I'm going around a curve. So I turned it while the paper was still in my scissors mouth. I'll show you again. So the paper is inside of the scissors mouth and I'm turning it to get this curve with my other hand while I'm cutting. The hand that does not have the scissors in it, make sure that it's clamped down tightly on the paper because you are cutting 4 pieces at once. I know all of you can do this. Please just make a pile for scraps at your table. We're not getting up to throw those away. Just make a pile of them because there's more cutting to be done. These are complete, but we need to cut out our circle. Once you've cut out your circle, please put the scraps on the scrap pile. After that, we need to start adding the texture to our hands that we cut out. The texture is just crayon and we're just going to be drawing lines. I use like an orange, brown. If you want to mix in other colors, you may. But for mine, I think I'm going to stick to this. It's an orangey brown and a brown. Maybe in your crayon pack, you have a dark yellow. That might look kind of nice. Please try not to get the crayon on your desk. But the lines, I just start at the base of the hand and just do curvy lines that come out. These are going to be inspired by the painterly brush strokes that we've seen in post-impressionism. Our artist for today is Vincent van Gogh. He is the painter of Starry Night and sunflowers. He was also the artist featured in the book we just listened to. There's one. I'll come back and add the orange later. We need to do all 4 of these, so if you're ahead of me, that's okay. Keep rolling. Ooh, look at this thumb. I must have not been holding onto the paper very tightly when I was working on it. See how the thumb is supposed to be rounded? I need to fix that because it's really going to stand out. All I'm going to do is round it. There we go. It might be a little shorter, but it doesn't stand out as if there was a cutting issue. Again, my lines are curved. They're intertwining, kind of wrapping together. Working my way out through each finger. Two more to go for me. If you're ahead, that's okay. Please try really hard not to get the crayon on your table. If you're a little behind, don't worry. Just listen to the instructions as you work, and you'll be able to get caught back up. No worries. Oh no, I found another finger with a cutting issue. Can you see that one? It just needs to be rounded off. No problem. We can handle it. Just rounding it off. Sometimes you might need to, if you're not comfortable with cutting, maybe you add a round line. That's where I'm going to fix mine. I added a round fingertip there. I'm just going to cut on that. Boop, got it. Okay, continuing with my lines. And now I'm on the hunt for that orange brown. This is the one that I found, I think, before. I'm going to try this. Let's see if there's much of a difference. Oh yes, I love that. Reminds me of fall too, very nice. So I'm doing this to all of my flowers. A regular orange would work nicely too if you do not have an orange brown crayon like the one that I have here. Mine is called burnt orange. All right. I like the look of this hand. I can have the texture on it as well as a little bit of the yellow paper showing through. I think that it looks really nice and it makes it more interesting for the viewer than just a yellow handprint. Please do not leave too much yellow paper exposed on your hands that you cut out. See how I have a big gap here? I'm going to fill that in. Last one for me. All right. My hands are finished. If you are not finished, you could pause the video right now, or you can continue working while I move on. I'm going to talk about gluing for the next steps. Next, try to spread out your handprints. I need to scooch my scrap pile out of the way here. There we go. I'm going to try to spread my handprints out to see how I want them to be set up. We want it to be really full on each side, so you might have to kind of move them around, give them a little test drive, see where you like them before you just start gluing away. I had a little gap there at the top. I kind of like them like this. It looks a little open here on the edges, so I might try to adjust a little bit, but for the most part, I really like it a lot. Now it's time to glue. So now I'm going to try to remember how I had these set up, and you can use the stick glue or you can use Elmer's regular school glue. If you are using this, please only use a dot per hand cutout that you are attaching. With the school glue, you can put on a little bit more. That's because it's not going to make that big of a mess. But do not use this glue like syrup. Don't do it. I'll give you the example with this one though, because I think most people have glue sticks. So I'm going to scooch these hands away. Just have them standing by because they are going to get glued soon, but it's not their turn yet. I took the cap off of my glue. Now at the bottom, this is where a cuff of a glove would be. I'm just going to put a line with my glue stick, trying not to get it on the table. And then I'm going to place my handprint on there. Now with the stick glue, you can adjust a little bit because I haven't rubbed it down there. So I haven't rubbed the second hand down on top of the first one. So it's not really stuck on there yet. So I can adjust. I'm making sure that I don't have too big of a gap. There's still nice petals fanning out at the top. I like that. Next, I'm going to do the same thing. Apply a strip of glue right where the cuff of the glove would be. It's about this wide, just along the bottom. I didn't get any on my table. And then we can line up our petals, again, trying to get it nice and even, so it's like a nice fan of petals going around. And now I'm ready to do the last one. Putting glue on the cuff, bringing in this hand, making sure that I like the way it's adjusted. Oh yes, I like that a lot. And then it's time to glue down the center, which we already have done. So I'm flipping the center over, just giving it a nice circle in the middle with my glue stick. If you are attaching this with school glue, you may have to use 3 dots for the center just because it's so big, maybe 1, 2, 3. Don't use it like syrup, please. That will be too much and then it will be stuck to everything inside of your desk. Once you have the glue on the back of your center of your flower, go ahead and flip it. Try to make it in the center of your petals. Do the best you can. And then we're going to give it a little pat right in the center to try to get it to stick. Now, this is not going to be cemented on there right away. It's going to take a little bit of time for that glue to dry, and that's okay. We'll be gentle with it. Next up is the stem. We need to attach the stem, which is going to happen with this skinny strip of green paper and the little petal that has been cut out for you already. Please add a little bit of glue. This might be 2 dots if you're using the school glue. If you have a glue stick, I would say about 5 inches down. Do a line with the glue stick. If you're a little behind, just make sure you watch this part so you know what to do when you get there. So there's this much glue on mine. I'm going to flip over my flower so I can see what I'm doing back here. And I'm going to make it so the sticky side is going down on the back of my flower. Just giving it a little rub there. Flip the flower over. Oh, this is looking so nice. There's the stem. That's how long mine is. And it's time to glue on the leaf. So for the leaf, I would put the glue directly onto the tip of the leaf. I just used the tip of the leaf for the glue, just right here. Then I'm flipping it over, and I'm going to glue it on. Decide what position you want the leaf to be in before you glue it down. I'm going to have mine going up a little bit. It's reaching up towards the sun. Oh, I love it. If you would like to add crayon details to your leaf, you may. The choice is yours. I'm going to add a little bit. That's kind of like a blue-green. I'm not a huge fan. Let's try this green. Ooh, that's nice. I like that. Then I might even add a little shadow underneath. There. And then our flowers are all put together. When you're done, please do not forget to put the lid on your glue really tight. We want these to last all year, and if we leave the cap off or it's a little loose, air can get in there and dry out your glue.